Welcome back to another explainer, folks. Today, we're looking down. I mean, way, way down. We're going to uncover the literally unseen science directly beneath our feet. Because let's be real, when we think about getting a beautiful new floor, we almost always just focus on the surface, right? The plush carpet, the super sleek luxury vinyl, that rich hardwood. But the truth is, the real magic, the actual durability, and the comfort of that floor, all of that happens in the dark, where you can't even see it. So here's a question for you, and honestly, it's something that frustrates homeowners everywhere. Why do some carpets last 15 years while others completely fail in just 3? You might think it boils down to the brand, or I don't know, whether you splurged on the absolute most expensive fiber in the showroom. The stakes are definitely high when you're investing in your home, but guess what? The real answer is almost never the carpet itself. Actually, the professionals over at Bay Ridge Carpet and Linoleum Corporation, they hit the nail on the head. They said, the real decision maker sits completely out of sight. It's kind of like a giant iceberg, right? That beautiful surface you walk on is just the tip. Literally 90% of a floor's lifespan, its feel, its structural integrity, all of that is determined by the hidden layers sitting beneath the surface. If you ignore what's underneath, you are practically throwing your hard-earned money away.
All right, so here is our bottom-up roadmap for today's explainer. Number 1, prepping the perfect subfloor. Number 2, the hidden hero of padding. Third, the big density versus thickness myth. Number 4, thermals and acoustics. And finally, number 5, taming the tack strap. Okay, let's dive into this.
Starting right at the bottom with Section 1, prepping the perfect subfloor. Now, you might be thinking, my house is brand new, I don't need to worry about this. Well, even new builds from 2021 can have completely out-of-spec OSB subfloors just from basic framing settling or the wood swelling from moisture. So before anything goes down, you've got to fix it. Professional installers on Reddit totally agree on 3 key prep steps. First up, find the squeaks. Just walk the room, find that bounce, and screw those loose spots down nice and tight to the joists. Next, you're going to want to run an edger and sand any swollen, high seams flat using an aggressive 40 to 80 grit pad. And finally, for those low, dipping spots, grab a trowel and use a feather finish to smoothly bridge those gaps. But hey, quick warning here, and this is absolutely crucial. Avoid self-leveler. I know, it sounds like an easy magic fix, right? Pour some liquid and it magically levels itself out. But professionals overwhelmingly agree that pouring liquid self-leveler over an OSB subfloor is a massive, messy headache. That wood can just soak up the moisture, swell right back up, and completely ruin the work you just did. Sanding and using a targeted feather finish is a much more effective, controlled way to handle those minor OSB imperfections for sure.
Moving on up to Section 2, the hidden hero, which is padding.
So if the subfloor is your foundation, the padding is your ultimate shock absorber. Every single time you walk, scooch a chair, or drop something heavy, that kinetic energy travels right through the carpet and hammers the floor. Just listen to this incredibly vivid quote from a professional installer on Reddit. They said, "I hate cheap pad because it's like trying to cut Kleenex when installing. Just absolute junk that tears and balls up." Yikes, right? I mean, if your padding literally tears like a facial tissue during installation, how on earth is it going to absorb the impact of your family's foot traffic for the next 10 years? No way. Without a proper pad, the carpet fibers take the brunt of that abuse. They bend, they flatten, and eventually they just break entirely. Now, exactly what material you should choose is highly debated among the pros, but for residential spaces, it usually comes down to 2 super popular options. First, you've got the Rebond pad. This one is made from pieces of recycled foam bonded together, and it's by far the most common option. It gives you a really great balance of reliable support and cost effectiveness. Then, on the other side, you've got the memory foam pad. This is going to give you a much softer, highly luxurious feel underfoot. But there's a big catch here. It absolutely must be dense enough. If you throw a super plush memory foam pad into a busy family room, it allows way too much movement and will actively shorten the life of your carpet. Which leads us perfectly into Section 3, density versus thickness. Okay, so when we buy a mattress or a pillow for comfort, we just instinctively think thicker is better, right? It makes sense. But with carpet padding, that logic is incredibly backwards. Here is the big takeaway. A thinner, denser pad actually outperforms a thicker, softer one. Why is that? Well, if a thick pad compresses too easily, the carpet backing stretches downward, and the fibers on top flex way too much. Over just a few short years, that constant exaggerated bending leads to premature matting and those terrible, flat, worn-out traffic lanes. And that happens even if the carpet itself was top tier.
High-density padding actually forces the carpet fibers to spring back immediately instead of collapsing under pressure. So what is the sweet spot? Well, the debate usually comes down to 8-pound versus 10-pound padding. The 8-pound padding is considered by a ton of pros as the absolute sweet spot. It's a fantastic mid-grade density that gives you the right amount of residential comfort without sacrificing the support you need. Now, 10-pound padding, that stuff is incredibly durable. It will basically protect your carpet backing forever. But interestingly, some installers actively argue against using it for basic home use because they say it can feel a bit too firm, almost stiff when you're walking on it barefoot. So it's a delicate balancing act between extending the carpet's lifespan and making sure your bedroom floor is, actually comfortable to walk on. All right, let's keep building this up. Section 4, thermals and acoustics. Because guess what? These hidden layers do way more than just hold the floor up. They basically act as a massive thermal blanket for your entire house. Check out this data from Heat Is On Systems comparing R values which measure thermal resistance. Notice how a 3/4-inch OSB subfloor has an R value of 1.050, which slightly edges out plywood. But look at the padding layer. A 3/8-inch frothed polyurethane pad at a 10-pound density boasts an R value of 1.2. That means that super thin layer of foam is actually insulating your room better than the thick wood subfloor sitting right beneath it. Choosing the right pad is quite literally how you keep your toes warm in the winter. And then there's acoustics. Your floor is essentially a giant sound sponge. When you're shopping for underlayments, you're going to constantly see these two acronyms thrown around on the spec sheets. STC stands for Sound Transmission Class, and that measures airborne sound, stuff like a television playing or people talking downstairs. IIC is the Impact Insulation Class. This one measures the structural sound transmission directly through the floor itself. Think heavy footsteps or a kid dropping a toy. Now, the real magic number you want to look for here is the Delta IIC. Premium underlayments, like the SoundStep XL we analyzed from the sources, they boast a Delta IIC rating of 23. The word Delta just means the difference. It's the added benefit the pad provides over just a bare concrete subfloor. To put that into real-world perspective, a Delta IIC of 23 is literally the difference between hearing every single footstep your teenager makes stomping around upstairs versus sitting in blissful, uninterrupted silence in your living room below. And finally, Section 5, Taming the Tack Strip. We've finally reached the surface level of our bottom-up build, and this is where we run into a very, very sharp problem. Have you ever stepped on the edge of a newly carpeted stair and felt sharp metal tacks poking right through the carpet and into your foot? It is incredibly painful and frankly super frustrating, especially after you've just spent a bunch of good money. It turns out this is an extremely common complaint on flooring forums, particularly when people install those trendy low-pile carpets on staircases where the tack strip wraps really tightly over the edge. Fortunately, if your installer forgot to take care of this little detail, the fix is a surprisingly simple bit of DIY troubleshooting sourced directly from veteran flooring pros. Here's what you do. Step 1. Grab a small scrap piece of wood and lay it over the exposed tack area just to protect the carpet fibers. Or you can just carefully use the flat face of a hammer. Step 2. You're going to gently tap or rub the hammer across the tack strip at a slight angle. The goal here isn't to crush the wood strip underneath the carpet. You're just trying to gently fold those sharp needle tips over so you're stepping on the flat side of the nail instead of the pointy tip. But please, please listen to this crucial warning from the professionals. Do not pound the hammer straight down at a 90-degree angle. No way. If you smash straight down on those tacks, you're going to cause an absolute disaster. You'll either shatter and lift the wooden tack strip right off the floor, or you'll push the tack backwards out of the carpet entirely, completely releasing the carpet's tension. So just tap them sideways. Gentle angles are absolutely your best friend here. So, bringing this all together, the core takeaway from all our source material today is beautifully simple. A beautiful floor is only as good as its foundation. If you want that gorgeous new carpet or LVP to actually survive a decade of busy daily life, you've got to do the unseen work. You have to lock down and flatten that squicky subfloor. You have to ignore the very natural urge to buy the thickest, squishiest padding on the shelf and opt for the correct mid-grade density that's actually going to support the carpet fibers and block out noise. Those invisible, hidden layers are what truly guarantee your investment lasts. Which leaves us with one final thought. The next time you walk across your living room or head upstairs to bed, I want you to look down and ask yourself what hidden layers are sitting beneath your feet right now. Are they actively supporting your home, or are they failing silently beneath the surface? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and as always, stay curious, focused learners.